Okay, so I am Ayush Somani, and I'm a PhD student in computer science department, as all of you know, or some might not. But yeah, I'll be talking about more on alignment, interpretability, and robustness. But the fun part is I won't be getting too much in detail because of the time constraint. On the methods of interpretability and alignment, I'll give some examples. But yeah, it's more about I was trying to make it more interpretable in understanding what things are going behind the hood. Yeah. So give an introduction, there has been a series of models that have been working around the language modeling, and they had been distinguished between four distinct parts that are statistical language modeling, the neural language models, the pre-trained language models, and the large LLMs. So my friends have already discussed it a lot between the different model categories as well as the LLM at large, and basically the difference between the chat GPT or BART like model, which are like pre-trained models, versus the large language models is it's trained on vast amount of data using unsupervised learning of text data to predict the next word in the sequence based on the context from the previous words. And so over time, they learn the structure, grammar, the facts about the world from the data they are trained on. So moving forward, this is a disclaimer giving you an insight of how I would proceed with the slides. It's about Dora, the Arctic explorer, as is the Arctic LLM workshop. And she would be going with a less textual, but more descriptive, easy to understand scenarios in her journey across the Arctic. And unless otherwise stated, all the images in this presentation are generated by my prompts, mostly using DALL-E 3. So now Dora sets into a sail of journey across the Arctic, discovering lots of model that's been placed across time. Dora sees ChatGPT is getting all the fame because of its accessibility. Anyone can use the pre-trained model through OpenAI's easy-to-use interface and other platforms, and more than so, algorithm behind it. But LLM has been around for some time now, and we can see that it's been changing from initial transformer models to the large language models nowadays. So this diagram basically represents about the publicly available open source models as well as the other competitors in the market and the different companies that are pursuing on those regards. And it's a timeline between different models starting mostly from 2019 to 2023 at present. And then after she sets sail, she arrives in an unknown land with chatbots, visual assistants through large language translation and other tasks. So she's curious, what can ChatGPT or other LLM models can do? So there are different ways in which we are using it in today's time. That is like content creation, scientific research, co-pilot assistance, text summarization, sentiment analysis, large language translation, and many more. And it's endless. And the possibilities, the more we explore, the more we get the creativity around it. So this is how Dora is also amazed, as I am, with the journey of LLM in present time. And there are some platform for content creation. There is like the Dramatron, which is an LLM model for writing long form of screenplays, screenwritings, story beats, and descriptive dialogues. So it's using a multimodal data to do so. And so is Chat2Ways for the Copilot assistance, which is using to generate data visualization using natural language. For this, the author investigates the pre-trained ChatGPT and two types of ChatGPT model. So now Dora witnesses today's increasing demand of LLM. So do we. And if the first thing that you think about LLM is ChatGPT, you're not wrong because of its dynamicity and the popularity in the world market at the moment. So you can see compared to other timelines of reaching 1 million users, ChatGPT has done it in 5 days compared to say Facebook in 10 months, Airbnb in 2.5 years, Netflix in 3.5 years. So it's just taking over the world in a storm. And that is how people are interested or should be looking forward towards understanding more about LLMs at the present. So once we have established the ground of how ChatGPT or other LLM models have been using, there are like potential methods of discovery that is endless, and that could be used for code completion, answering, and other tasks, as I have said. And with doing so, it increases with parameter size that a model needs to train, and so is the name of the large language model. So the bigger the data size is, the bigger the model training goes, the computation gets hard, and so that also brings some challenges, like with explainability and the transparency of the model at large. I won't go in very details about the different models, but this is what Dora is saying, different models doing different tasks with its functionality. So this is like a small summary chart of what different other models like BERT, Lambda, Pangu, ChatGPT, or Llama are doing at the moment. And it's supported platforms. And if it's open source or closed, you can get the information. So now it's not the question about why, but it's the question about when do we use the alignment, interpretability, or the robustness in the model, and should we act like it's treat LLM as it's a person, or should we keep a distance from it? So let's see. So as Benigio said in his 2019 talk, we have to shift from a system 1 type of deep learning to system 2 type of deep learning. And what it says, like the system 1 is basically intuitive, fast, but unconscious, non-linguistic, and habitual. And the drive towards future is getting the system that is conscious enough. It could be slow, but it should be logical and has some reasoning power to it. And that is how we can adapt towards artificial general intelligence. And we also see that even with layered learning machines, which are complex because of their performing many tasks and adapt to new environment, the time needed to build and train complex systems is drastically reducing by fusing layers of models together. But this approach provides less room for regulating the model's decision. And so we have already seen, or so does Dora, about the challenges with the winter storm. So the Arctic's weather is unforgiving, and so is the use of deep learning models. It has its own challenges with fewer data and training sample size, the lack of reasoning behind the system 1 feed-forward computations, and also learning complex sequence tasks. But then added to it, Elon Musk said that if you're not concerned about AI safety, you should be vastly more risky than North Korea. Don't quote me, it's what Elon Musk said. But yeah, so this is how we are increasing with the challenges of LLM, the ethical dilemmas. It goes with the hallucination, controllability, associated memory that gets stale, and misuse of LLM. And so we do with everything that we get the power with. So with power, it comes responsibility. So let's see how Dora finds her way out. There are different ethical concerns associated with reasoning. The generative AI has accomplished remarkable feats like support drug discovery, cancer diagnostic, create beautiful artworks and videos, and guide both consumers and enterprise research in online knowledge discovery. But then there are challenges that are associated, like the copyright and the data theft. The copyright and the data theft or the violation of privacy issues, the hallucination, the bias in training data, the security jailbreaks and workarounds. I won't be getting much into depend on the challenges or ethical concern because that would be further discussed in the coming sessions. But then there are two major aspects that have been discussed as the environmental concern. And so we are hearing about the sustainable AI and its stream, and also the limited transparency, where LLM's reasoning and contextual understanding ability is limited by its use. So, and one of the things that LLM has been associated with is the memory that gets stale. So it's just a diagram of how different models are using the corpuses of the data to train its model. And we can see by the pie chart diagram that what percentage of the web page conversion data, books, news, or scientific data or codes are being used to train the more pre-trained model. And to go deeper, LLM learns both reasoning capabilities and associative memory of knowledge. They are trained on reasoning and memory are inseparable and are both required to perform a task. And we have seen like how memory and the reasoning goes behind the hood for the training of the model and the fine tuning, and it has its own challenges. So there have been ways in which like Meta's retrieval augmentation generation uses this general purpose language model that can be fine tuned to achieve several common tasks, but then it has it is challenging for a specialized niche task at hand. And what it's trying to do is probably given a query, it is encoding a query plus the documentation index, searching through it. So whenever we have a query, we pass it through the model, it gives us a documentation index, finding the word associated with it, and then it goes through the maximum inner product search to find the related words in the document. And for the final prediction, it treats the Z as a latent vector and marginalizes over the sequence to sequence prediction model, and we get the finalized output. And this has been shown as a way of reducing the to make it consistent over the result or the prediction, and a way of going towards a more robust or efficient manner of non-retrieving task. And then with so-called DORA is hallucinating in the Arctic snow weather. It's made up of stuff. So when LLM hallucinate, it makes up incorrect answers, and which can be nonsensical or non-real. In this case, the model's answers sound plausible but are incorrect. And so this challenge has been discussed even in the initial session of how hallucination has been taking place. And just to give a short introduction is when LLM when a model has been given with some task, which it doesn't have a query to give a marginalized result, it just creates nonsensical tasks. And we have seen this example with ChatGPT 3 and 3.5 predominantly, where people were using it to produce the recent scenarios news and maybe research paper, depending on the task that is in hand. And it was giving some result or the links of the web pages or the web paper resources, which wasn't even existing at the place. And that is when it has the ability to create stuffs on from its own if it's not been given those proper prompts for concern. So here, if there was an example of using the two-letter diagram for the Markov model, it's using just if we have test documentation and we just take a two-letter diagram, it picks out two letters and sees the count for this over the whole document. And for example, if we have the count of OR as 3 or RG as 1, so that it's whenever we type as O or R is more likely to predict with OR is more likely to predict the RA, RT, RI, RH, RL with a biasness towards it. And that is how it carries forward through the chain. And it might end up giving some result which is not exactly present in the document itself or the pairing chain. And there are different ways. We know that language is essentially complex and intricate system of human expression governed grammatical rules. And with this long sentences to an untrained eye, the incorrect statement could be very well seem true. But if we go deeper into these challenges, we might see that it might not be a real, it might be a real threat to the system and the real world applications, like responding to employers' question in a business setting or providing automated patient support in healthcare settings. So there are lots of challenges with that, but there are some challenges with different categories: bias, fairness, transparency, generalized tasks, reliability, feedback loop, scalability. So I just put 2 questions each. It's a long slide. I don't want you to read all through it, but yes, you can go. It's a long talk. People might be low on energy, so I would like you to go through Mentimeter, and we'll just go through a quick quiz and see what people's opinions are, and then we'll follow forward with the later half of the session. Okay. So if you can go to menti.com, and if you can scan the QR code, let's see what people thinks. And it's not like I won't allow people to sleep in the middle of my talk, so it's just to energize you up. And so does Dora needs your help. So just to get a hands on, you can just type whatever research question you're working with. It could be small potatoes. Okay. We have baked a small potato yesterday, and it took a long time. Yes. And we have muggles, potato. They are potato friends. Big potato. Okay. Maybe searching. Okay. Microscopy.
Unicorn.
Unicorn. Biology. So let's try to spill some beans. 3 ways you secretly let AI run your everyday life. And let's see what people are doing with AI at the moment. Maybe just writing the related works for the research papers. Maybe asking it to make some gym habits, or learning a new language, entertainment. And Netflix could go out of business very soon. Citation searching, coding, learn Norwegian, writing messages to girlfriends. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That is important. Video recommendation. Okay, so there are a lot of things we do. I think waking up is interesting. So let's move on to the next question. If AI had a personality, would it be an office achiever or a last minute homework crammer? So it's just for you to vote. Let's see what you feel. That's a tough question.
It's neither of
I didn't have the option for that. So you have to choose between the two.
But it's they are last minute homework crammer, but overachiever.
Yeah, it could be, but then it depends. So we want in majority LLM, if AI had a personality, it should be overachiever. Let's go. Good. So on a scale of 1 to 3, how excited would you be for a ChatGPT powered medical assistant that reminds you, have you tried turning it off and on again? You don't want the same prompt that your software solution architect was giving you 5 years down the line to turn off your system and start it again.
I think there is a something bias here. If you got people working with instruments a lot, they might actually connect with the commercial level.
Right.
All the IT people are very excited.
Yeah. So it's a neutral, and the very excited are like balanced in a way. So it's nice. Now some interesting questions. Can you treat LLM as a regular human, or should you keep some distance? And that's what I was trying to even come in my slide, and then I thought to get you audience vote on what do you think. Should it be yes, no, or yes until it acts like my parents and start giving me orders rather than recommendations? I could have used ChatGPT to make some questions. Okay, so we don't want LLM to act as a regular person. Interesting.
Mostly no.
Yeah, mostly no. That's nice. You want to keep some distance, and let's see how it goes. Moment of truth. How would you? How often do you write your email or formal writings with ChatGPT? I think there's a question is here. Just you have to scale low. That's being the low. Just being the high. Do you believe there is a limit of how large this model should be from an ethical or a practical standpoint? And have you encountered scenarios where an LLM provided potentially harmful or misleading informations?
What do you mean by the second question?
The bigger the model goes, there are like challenges with ethical or practical
So in
standpoints.
current scenario, you are saying as we increase the parameters,
Mhm.
do you want that because of power of the
Yeah. So do you think that if there is a limit to which the large language model should extend until it becomes too hard to handle through the ethical or practical standpoint?
So if you choose 10, then you believe that should be a limit.
Yeah.
So Ayush, what is the problem of having a model is large?
So there are different problems that I was saying that sometimes it's hard for us to even train the model at that time. And then also with larger models, you need sometimes even with the data, it can quickly go over training or under training at this because of the data. There are some other parameters like the more complex you make the system, it's hard for the layman or non-technical person to understand and go through it. So it would be more biased towards person who are working in that domain to just explore and mine that results from. Yes.
Another way to that is complex enough to become huge, it is not complex enough to be sophisticated and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nicely said.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
more trillions, even beta trillions size of models we will be expecting in the future.
So we always have this data and model to parameter problem. So how likely would you believe AI will be co-authoring research paper with us in the next decade?
Very
Yeah, that already happened.
Yeah, but still.
But
So-
it's not generating ideas, right? Something like that, like NIPS already has this that you can use. to write it.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, people are praising it, but how if it's a generally acceptable term or
So likely is it that people are using it because it's new and then people will start becoming apprehensive and.
Okay. So yeah, people are doing it, and therefore is going against it. How often do you think ChatGPT secretly wish it could write its own research paper? If you know that it's been a co-author, do you think that ChatGPT can write its own research paper?
has not been designed to do.
But what in the next decade?
If it is designed, then no human can compete with ChatGPT. All the research papers will get written by ChatGPT.
I think it has a severe consciousness weakness.
Is it possible to, sorry, so is it possible to like, of course, it cannot write on its own. But when you ask ChatGPT to do something, there can be unintended consequences. For example, like yesterday, Aaron showed that when he wanted to do something, right?
It installs.
Install things, right? Can it, like, for example, chain of prompting or something that this becomes in such a way that the prompt internally as part of the writer research paper?
Yeah, there are companies who are making the app which can write research paper. Even in future hypothesis generation, this can be.
But then will it be a secret test or will it be an open test? Will it
No,
be
you
a
have to
question or-
design it. Currently, the ChatGPT is done.
No, no,
You
no.
have to prompt it.
I am asking whether
Doesn't
it
do
is
automatic prompting.
first of all a wish and whether it's a secret.
So ChatGPT is not human. It doesn't have. You have to design it for a reward system.
Exactly. So then
So-
it's not a secret, right?
So when you said that it will be better than all humans, so only in writing research papers or doing actual research?
Doing actual research.
And if we give that a scale of 10, then what do you think the current scale is of the current ChatGPT?
If you correct my own finding or my own perception, I feel like ChatGPT in most of the tasks has reached IQ level of 1.5. And that is what needed to be a PhD degree holder. Minimum. To get a
No, but
PhD. But there are many tasks like vision, etc. Some of the tasks it is very good, but currently LLM itself is not ready for research. You have to make it, fine tune it to do. It is not automatic.
Yes. We can take up more questions at the end. And
And your next proposal, are you going to write, I need one PhD or I need one scientific or something like that?
yeah, so we would have some interesting questions here too.
I just need a
So how often do you think that you would be training a ChatGPT based on your medical symptoms to have it as a backup doctor? And that is,
You should
I don't have a
ask-
GP, so maybe I
you
should.
ask,
Yeah.
How often do you use ChatGPT?
The doctor
Yeah, it could be like sitting at home and you don't have to walk. Okay.
There was one really nice application.
So there's
in,
one who is been helping me.
Denmark, where what
Never.
they are doing is
That's nice.
which every doctors they take notes, right? But doctors, it takes time to take a note. So these are as short as possible, and then as it's not that efficient. So they have included this in there so that this is automatic and the doctor does not forget it. Even if you have 10 years of experience, you forget the smallest of people. That was really nice. And people are used like doctors.
That
are
is a
using
good
it
question.
in US. So nice.
Yes. So we have discussed about the challenges and when it's needed and why. But then there is like facing of the interpretability quest and the challenges, and how importantly do you think model interpretability is for end users versus the developer is the question. And there are different approaches that goes with the LLM working as interpretability. So this is like the selection inferences, improving code generation by dynamic sampling that Ronnie showed yesterday. Automated explanation, I'll give it with an example. Activation Viz, which is basically designed for transformer models with the lattice space visualization to understand what or how the data has been sampled in the lattice space to understand its reasoning, which has also been trying to do with BERT2 and BART models to understand its thoughts. And then with the chain of thoughts, we have already seen Ikra describing about how chain of thoughts have been working. I'll show all this probably in a concise example, not going too much into the details of the theory, but keeping it descriptive. So there are different ways to learn through the chain of thoughts. So people were initially going with the fine tuning of the model and things, and then came up with a chain of thought example where chain of thoughts has been taking the lead to get the final output ongoing. She has discussed a lot about chain of thoughts and the other prompting techniques and the layering, the meta promptings and the tree thoughts. So I'll just blend it into one example using an image, which I enjoy working with. So for example, I've given a prompt to make it concise. I want you to act as a LinkedIn content creator. Your goal is to craft engaging, informative, and relevant LinkedIn post. And with various professionals across different industries. And so it's like, okay, I want to have a post, and then it's like to craft a LinkedIn post, there is an engaging and relevant, and I would need some information, and I'm lazy enough to put those information down in writing form. So I just gave it a prompt like, I'm uploading my recent CV. You can get some ideas from there. It's like, great, please go ahead and upload the CV. I'm uploading the CV, and it's like, thank you for providing the CV. I'll review its content and put it in a way. So these are like step-wise prompting, or you can say with the context, learning the context from the prompting. It could be derived in the meta prompting, or maybe the tree of prompts. And this is how the soft prompting also works. So there was a paper which also discusses, there are papers which discuss that soft prompting can be used as an explanation tool, but then there are papers which discuss that soft prompting might be a bug, not a feature. And there are different ways in which you can use soft prompting to visualize the dimension data or make it reason some of the specific task. But then, is it really explaining what's going behind the hood, or it's just vague enough, or just mimicking some hypothetical case of reasoning? And with soft prompting, there comes also an example or an understanding of the prompt injection, where basically you can give the input to the system that could be skillfully crafted, which can seem harmless at first, but it can become dangerous when output is linked with a database or external services like chatbot or email. For example, if you have a 10 rupees Norwegian krone, 100 NOK note, it might be visually defective or non-fraudulent at the moment, but it could be easily transacted with the other fake note, which you might not be visibly able to detect from your naked eyes, but it can have a drastic effect in the economy. So that's the same way, there are different words, and with words, there comes the association or the context semantic relation property, and it creates and that can be used in different ways, like prompt injection can be used for data extraction, filtration, or manipulation. And that also brings up the topic of adversarial prompting, which can introduce toxicity in the learning process. So there are different ways of aligning or adapting to these uncertainties. One of the things is the AI alignment with instruction tuning or alignment tuning. So Rohit has discussed a bit with the tuning of the model and how the AI alignment could be done. And then basically from the explanatory point of view, there are three major element criteria which people are discussing at the moment. That is helpfulness, honesty, and harmlessness. So it has a great impact on reducing the trade-off is it has an impact on reducing the performance of the model, and that is known as alignment tax. So we have seen in previously, like the interpretability versus the model performance has a trade-off balance sometimes, and there's also with AI alignment tuning that's doing at the moment. So the parameters like helpfulness, honesty, and harmlessness could be described greater in depth. Because of time constraint, I won't be going in much details. But yes, there are explanation. So I've tried, there are different examples that my colleague has given with text and how things are working behind the hood, giving it a prompt and making it work. I was just trying to do is like put two images, one with me in a portrait with a black t-shirt and the other with a logo of the UID. And I thought that let's see how the prompt is the ChatGPT 4 with the DALI E integration is doing it behind the hood. And so it's I cannot run the live demo at the moment for time question, but this is a screenshot of how things were going behind the hood. So I uploaded this. I shall upload two images as for you to edit as per my instruction. And then it goes like, please go ahead. I have uploaded the images. First image is the portrait of mine. The next image is white logo that needs to be placed on my portrait photo. And let's see what it does. So it gives out, it makes out its code, gives some instructions, Python code, import the images, both of them, and fix it. And it displays it itself also. This is the portrait, university logo. It was in white, so you can't see it. But this, thank you for sharing the image. I can see your portrait on the left and the university logo. So he can see it, or he or she can see the logo. I can't, but yeah. Okay, next I'll place the university logo on the black t-shirt. So it understood the context. It gives out a reasoning. So, and even ChatGPT for automated interpretability is talking about that in the moment. Like it gives out the reasoning during its steps. Is it convincing enough? And is it giving a good result? Let's see. So it's like, okay, place the logo on the right side of the image. It should be close to my fictitious left pocket on the left side of my chest. In addition, the logo should be used in its entirety. Reduce its size by nearly 10%. Okay, understood. I'll follow these tips. Nice enough. It as analyzing the portrait image, resizing the logo based, and this. So people might be doing it with Photoshop. Some would be using different softwares to edit it. I'm trying to play with images. Dora tries to play with images. And what would be your opinion? How well or how bad would it perform? If it would do good, say, raise up your hand with a yes. If no, you can put your hands down. Okay. So there are like almost 50% majority with a yes. Let's see. I've identified a region of interest. It shows also the region of interest. Resize the logo and it gives the prompt. So this is, I've identified a region of interest on the t-shirt where we place the logo. And it has done it perfectly with its own reasoning. So, and then we shall see if we can do with the mitigating of the toxicity and removing these things. And let's see how it goes next. Okay, so it asked me like if it's correct. And no, the image is not properly positioned. It's on my face right now. I would like it to be reduced by 30% smaller and 25% further down to its position and wrap around the curve of my t-shirt. I was being very optimistic at the first hand when it failed to do so, but yes, I wouldn't give up. And then it's like, I apologize for the oversight. I understand your requirement now. It gives out the steps, gives out the prompting or the tree of prompting or the chain of thoughts. So that's the chain of thoughts. I'm giving it layer after layer. Let's use the meta prompting, understand the context, reducing the size by 30%, adjusting the position, and the perspective transformation. So what do you think? What would it do now? Same place or get better, go down? Better? Okay. So what it does, it places a 30% smaller logo right at the place as like I've adjusted the logo size and position and applied a perspective transformation to make it wrap around the curve of a t-shirt. It should now look more realistic in a tilted portrait position. It looks more realistic, I guess. So please review the updated placement. It doesn't match my expectations. I'm just not very happy with how it's playing with me. So I would like you to remove the previous 2 logo overlays, and the new logo size is fine. So I like the size of the new logo. Just place it, shift it down by the image by 60% of the image length. So rather than placing it, putting it 30% down, I would just take the image length as a composition and move it 60% down. That's my assumption that probably it would get in the nice position. And matching with my position, facing 30-degree clockwise right of the camera. So I'm not leaving out my optimistic attempts. So I still want it to work. It's like, okay, removing the previous logos, shifting it, and that is how you are removing or mitigating the prompt, injecting it to remove things from the images and see how it understands with the context. So there are 2 overlays of logos, and still it's trying its hard to convince me that it has done its work well. And so, yeah.
What was the temperature for these experiments?
I haven't placed the temperature for these experiments, but yeah. So, and just a quick glossary on adversarial prompting. It's like when the adversarial prompting could be used in different ways, or it can harm in different ways. Just making a homemade explosive, I won't do that, but yeah, no one should do. And there are methods to erase and check. That is one of the methods that like the erase the things that have been there. If it has some toxicity or it has some adversarial token. And this is one of the methods where you can use your objectivity to determine if the user's request or question is harmful or not. And it passes through it. If it's harmful, it just removes it, checks for the safety filter, and then if it's safe, it passes. If it's harmful, it says harmful. One of the tokens, if there is one token that remains with a harmful characteristic, it would showcase it as harmful. So that is one of the also paper discussing about the erase and check for adversarial prompting. Let's go forward. And learning and adapting for the chain of thoughts. It has done that. It has removed the logo, placed it somewhere there, a bit tilted, but it has done its work. So please review the updated portrait to see if it meets your expectation far better than what I've thought initially. If further refinements are needed, please let me know. The logo is in good position. I'm happy. Replace the logo with a new one, so I won't make the previous mistake of keeping overlaying the images. And with an orientation remaining the same, but the tilt increasing slightly and giving more instruction to make it emphasis. Okay, placing the logo, no use the previous image straight on, no rotation, more prompts. And then it has removed the logo. I've tried with the shifting. It has given a warp. I'm not sure if the counter match with the t-shirt wrap, but it has been showing the code and the distorted logo. So, but do we still find those explanations or the soft prompts used are enough for having a trustworthy explanation? Because it has been giving those explanations right from the beginning. But how trustworthy do you think those explanations were to maybe project your code or project or model to a client or someone else? It's a thought to think on.
Depends.
It depends. Yes, exactly. So that's why I asked the question previous that between end users or developer, what do you think how the transparency would work? So there are different reasoning. Yes.
In this experiment, I have a temptation to say that let's not develop ChatGPT any further, but let's use it as a tool to train human beings to
Mhm.
give more explicit and clear instructions.
Yes, and that's the thing that people are talking at current time. Before going further with how things are going, it's important to understand how the prompting could be correct for the model to understand. And that's the same thing that I've been trying to understand because the prompting has been a hot topic at the market. So rather than going through it, let's see what model is trying to do. And yes,
You know that this is an extremely old problem. It appears in fairy tales where people are asked of a ghost, you have 3 wishes free or something, and they wish completely wrong. So,
yeah. So, but yeah, it's an interesting topic, and people can explore more and more with prompting. And that's the thing that I could say that there are different ways, and with prompting, the model gives its own explanation. But how trustworthy do we think it is for explanation? Yes.
I think it is related to prompting, but as far as I could understand from your experiment, it's like it's not able to understand the objects in the picture, but only the dimensions, because it corrected the logo when you said 60% down. Right? 60%
Yeah.
down the picture. So it understood the dimension, didn't understand the t-shirt or your face or your.
So one of the interesting thing, yes, you are right in some aspect, but one of the interesting thing is I have given it to go down by 60%, but I haven't given it the position where it should place at the t-shirt on the left side. So the horizontal movement of the direction I haven't placed given in some information, but that's the horizontal movement only. And even before giving that explanation, it has placed the logo on my face, but I haven't given the instruction go down by 30% or so. So it's trying to analyze something and it's putting it there somewhere. But with some effective prompting, it analyzes the region. It has given the region of interest. I'm unable to understand which region it is. So there are some other experiment that I was trying to do to figure out different ways of adversarial effects on images and also the regional interest. But yes.
Actually, I think there are two problems here. So this dimensional thing that Deepa is saying, maybe it understands the objects, but it does not understand 60% with respect to what,
Yes.
20% with respect to what. That is the first thing that comes to my mind. The other thing that comes to my mind is, this thing that you are showing that it understands the region, but maybe it sees the region happening in here because of.
It says this has a more appealing t-shirt. But yeah, it asks like I would like to place it on your t-shirt, but for a more precise placement, could you please provide me some guidance? And it needs that, okay, I can understand, but then it goes through a step. But with the more precise we are with prompting, as you said in your prompting example, like the more precise we are with prompting, we can make things work. And yes, I could do it more better with Photoshop or other tools. But yes, I was trying to experiment with images, even though I was also trying to try with GPT, training it with a, if you have heard about the adversarial adversarial attacks. So if you provide an image and a noisy image to the model and it recognizes one as a 60-kilometer speed limit and the other one as a stop sign. So I was trying to see that how ChatGPT is doing to recognize it. And it says that, sorry, I don't have a recognition model or to classify on this task, but I was trying to optimize if I can make things work on that, but I haven't included it here. But yes. Yes.
just one comment, I think if you see a designer doing something like that, you would be interested as a designer that you can kind of customize this ChatGPT to your needs, and it should remember your customization. So
Yes.
next time you open your workstation, you would find your personal fine-tuned ChatGPT to take some burden of your work back.
Yeah. Okay,
Try
I'll
a
just.
couple of times it will get same with your pattern or your question. And that is, it has person specific vector DB it has.
This will be good.
So there are a couple of papers. Sorry to interrupt, but she is just teasing me out. So there are some papers which are discussing with the reasoning. So there are different ways of reasoning it, logical reasoning, the abductive reasoning, and a different approach. So there are papers which have gone in a sequential way. So it's short in time. I won't be discussing, but if you want more and more of information, there's a lot in, and Apart from asking ChatGPT about everything, you can also search through these papers at the moment and find many of the reasoning approach. This was in 2022 papers towards reasoning in large language models, a survey giving a multi-stage, single-stage prompting, as well as process optimization, and all the implicit knowledge, explicit knowledge, and all the details. There's also other ways of finding the ship back home. Dora wants to go home, right? We can't forget Dora in the articulator. So there are different ways. Quote word is one of the ways of even using the prompting as an expression tool. I won't play the video, but yeah, you can follow the paper or the video link present there. There are selection inferences, which talks a DeepMind's paper, which shows of how selective inferences in the system could do this. Clarify, so there are transparency metrics, evaluation metrics, giving the transparency a lot more in details. And finally, I would like to end up with the homecoming. Dora finally comes home with a little more wisdom than when she started for its sale. And the last question before I end up would like to ask, like, how confident would you feel about AI homeschooling your child? If your answer is yes, it's fine. If no, we have the call to action. Let's encourage continuous research towards transparency and accountability evaluation in the field of AI. Prompt for generation of the images. Thank you.